Hi everyone. The purpose of this video is to just briefly go through the stakeholder engagement case study that you will see on in the week 7 page. I just want to take you through, almost kind of work with you and guide you through it briefly. And the expectation is that you come back to this and look at it a little bit more closely until you really get the methodology that Lisa Nielsen and her team followed with OD intervention in a very large company. This was a presentation at the Organizational Development Network 50th Anniversary Function or Conference in 2014. It's a very important topic about stakeholder engagement, the whole part of the OD process. And it's important that you really grasp this very well. So on the right hand side I've got the various acronyms and terms. If you just go through the slides without that, it becomes a little bit difficult to follow because they use the acronyms after initially mentioning what it means. So I've uploaded also the acronym terms and meaning, and I've also embedded that in inserting another page in the PDF of the slide presentation. Okay, so the project that the OD team worked with in terms of the intervention was around the OD project objective was to, or the company's objective, the project that they were concerned about was the establishment of a new governance, risk and compliance solution within the information risk management group globally across the organization. So this is a very large organization that had the capacity and the very great need to actually have a governance, risk and compliance group, a risk management group across it globally. It's very important for that. A smaller organization will do that more informally, but the bigger you grow, the more there's the need to formalize this type of function. So that's the project, and the purpose of this slide presentation was to guide delegates at the conference, and for you going through this now on your own, is how to plan for stakeholder engagement across a global federated organization with over 3,000 impacted stakeholders. So there are a huge number of stakeholders. So stakeholders from the top of the organization, the CEO, the board, a very high level support for projects, plus all the people in the organization that would be impacted by the use of this new system. And if you implement a new system, people are not trained yet, they are afraid, they're scared of the new system because it changes the way they do things, and so on. So it's a very big project with a lot of stakeholders. And the presentation also will speak to the top 5 lessons learned on how to execute a successful deployment of the stakeholder engagement strategy, and implying that the specific OD intervention, that is the sort of background to the slide presentation, was a success. And then very importantly as well is how the OD team measured stakeholder engagement supports trends to mitigate against adoption risks. So you need to measure stakeholder engagement in some way and see whether they are taking to the new system or are they rejecting it or somewhere in between. So are they adopting it or not? And then if you have that measurement of the relative stakeholder engagement ratings, you can take appropriate action to increase the engagement and manage it in any other way that is deemed necessary to improve stakeholders' adoption of the project. And also that would imply that stakeholders, if you then connect with them about their ratings, may point you to issues with the system, which will perhaps require technical changes to the actual system. So there's a multi-way feedback loop, organization in this sort of situation. So yeah, the client situation and project objective. There's the acronyms in the client situation. It's a global company with 6 opcos, and opcos are where the opcos in on the right hand side here we highlight operating companies. So they've got 6 operating companies and they're represented in 20 plus countries, 91 deployments, 3,000 plus end users, and a total employee count of 64,000. So the 3,000 end users, these would be direct stakeholders in terms of those using this new risk system, risk and compliance system, the users of that. I'm not actually quite sure what they mean by 91 deployments, but it's not relevant really. It just tells you it's quite a large company. End users, employees, and countries and opcos are much clearer for me. Maybe you know the term better than I do. So the project, as I mentioned, was to establish this governance risk and compliance solution, which is a piece of software and integrated into the processes of the company or needing to be integrated. And then the reason for the OD project was that the company team started picking up issues with the whole project. So they approached the OD organization experts and aired their concerns over this risk management software project. And that prompted the request for specialized, meaning OD, change support. So the kind of broad idea of the project impact, the project would bring changes resulting in use of new tools, process and behavioral changes in and around this risk management, governance and risk management system. So the support request prompt, the sponsor of the project was concerned about negative feedback like moving timelines, lack of communication, credibility concerns she was hearing about the project. So the software new system implementation project or development and implementation hit over time, over the last several months or whatever the time period is, a couple of speed bumps that concerned the project sponsor. So the project team was concerned that the project's decision review board, and let me go there, decision review board is the first future here, it will be referred to as the DRB, and what that is written over here. This is a formal team of executives from across the organization that ensures projects will meet or are meeting enterprise goals, This group functions more at the tactical level. They have the formal authority to prioritize projects and also approve projects that cut across multiple functional departments. So tactical level means that it's not as strategic, it's more what happens in maneuvering the project with tactical measures to an end state that is excellent. So the project team was concerned that the project decision review board was wavering in support for the project and might not approve the project to continue into the next phase. The project is currently in the design and plan, and project was preparing to move to build and deploy, and already $5 million had been invested. So the current state analysis. So as you know, in OD you do a diagnosis, and to do a diagnosis you need to carry out analysis of information, gather data. So what they did to gather the data about the current state was there was an interview by the OD team of project team members and stakeholders and other stakeholders. So project team would be those directly involved in the development of the project, and stakeholder interviews would be those, and possibly not possibly, it will be the 3,000 or members of the 3,000 cohort, so to speak. They also, so interviews there, they also reviewed all existing documents relating to this particular project, and they visited the SharePoint site and public communication materials. So you probably are more familiar with SharePoint than myself if you're in a current business environment, but SharePoint, I can just show you, I've got a definition here as well. SharePoint at the end here is SharePoint empowers teamwork with dynamic and productive team sites for every project team, department and division. Share files, data, news and resources, and you can customize your site to streamline your team's work, collaborate effortlessly and securely within team members inside and outside your organization and across the different platforms like Windows, Macs and other mobile devices. So and then they also ran attended the OD team participated in current project workshops. These workshops would be around the design of the system and so on. So the OD team decided to sit in those and also participate to get a good grasp of the concept, the project, and also how the people interact in these forums. They then developed a prompt for report that in which they communicated what they found in terms of the current state of the project and what they recommend. So in brief, their assessment findings, and you can go through this a little bit more in detail. So in terms of stakeholder engagement, what if it's not shaded here, it means that that particular element at the bottom here does not exist. So there isn't a clear vision and case for change. The ones that are half moon, so to speak, are kind of halfway there. They partially exist as per the legend below here. And then there is a communication plan, and they have identified delivery channels. And the same with impact and readiness. So what is the impact on the people, and how ready are the various teams to adopt this project? And you can see here there's a lot to be done. There are 4 full moons, or like moons for whatever, full moons. And then there are two elements that are halfway there. So there's a lot of work here. Of course, there's also work in stakeholder engagement, but the impact and readiness also was a bit anemic. And then training. The first 3 years about identifying training, development, and coverage, identify trainees and create logistics strategy. That still needed to be done. And then the 2 half moons here, where some progress have been made, and then the last 3 years they have managed to kind of develop the curricula and so on. So you can go through that. So the assessment from the OD people included, among others, this sort of this diagram, and they would have written a lot around that. And in terms of your stakeholder engagement from an OD point of view, your reports in this regard will be well structured, like an executive summary, and then you will present detail later, because you're going to present to executives that time is of the essence and they want the bottom line, and you can support it with the detail as is required. So now in this presentation at this ODN Organization Development Network presentation, the delegates that listened to this presentation were then asked to break away into groups and to work around this. And perhaps if you so inclined, you can maybe give it some thought what you may have done there, and if you don't understand that, I suggest that you just find a way to get a bit more information on the various elements here. It is just an exercise. Again, you don't need to hand this in, as I mentioned elsewhere. It's for your own self-study. Okay, so then the presentation also made a point that it's easy to underestimate the importance of building commitment to change. And by now you will know about building commitment to change in terms of the various change management models. And here's another way of expressing the adoption of projects. And you can look at this graph here, and the box here says, based on our initial analysis, these are the OD experts, we believe the project was at a critical juncture between awareness and confusion. So there's a continuum from awareness to confusion, and the OD assessment was that a critical juncture between awareness and confusion, so maybe it was somewhere over a year, and if this is not remediated, the gap between commitment and rejection would continue to widen, meaning that at the end year rejection, a lot of people will be here, and there's a big road to travel to go up to commitment. So you can manage the project in terms of stakeholder support and awareness and so on by analyzing this graph and then taking the necessary action. They brought in Simon Sinek's view, which the OD team found that the risk governance project team has been focusing on communicating the what is to be communicated, but not the how and the why. The what of the system, but not the how the system, and why is the system necessary. So without the why, stakeholders did not see a reason for this change. Without the how, stakeholders were feeling anxious about timelines. you can well imagine that if we don't know what to do, we're going to be very concerned and anxious. And without the why should we change? So the why needs to be explained. And then also they brought in some brain science here, which just reflects the overall breadth and depth of OD's work from a behavioral science point of view. And they mention here David Rock's work, author of Your Brain at Work. Uncertainty for the brain is an even greater threat as perceived by the brain than no negatives. So that is something to reflect on that they shared with the team around this communication focus. So immediate action, their very first intervention was to, implying that there were more than one intervention, our very first intervention was to work with the team to identify the value drivers, the why of the project. So this is the analysis that I'm not going to go through the whole analysis here. You can come back to this and reflect on it, pause and reflect. So the current state poses, and then there are the challenges, and this is the why, the future state that they need to create with the system. And then the remainder of the change strategy was made up of 3 work streams to support commitment to the program, to the GRC program. Let me just show you here the GRC here. The acronym is Governance, Risk and Compliance Project, which is this new system project team. And the change work streams, 3 main ones were stakeholder engagement and end user communication, impact and readiness analysis, and training. And then you can look at the details over there, how the work streams will drive commitment. And then each work stream was detailed in subsequent sections of the strategy regarding its key activities, principles, and approach and development areas. So the engagement strategy, here you get to a strategy from the OD and how they would want to engage and how the company can engage with this particular project. So building a holistic stakeholder engagement strategy to cover all strata of the organization, from the CIO, Chief Information Officer, Chief Information Officer, and the DRB, Decision Review Board. So this is what they're doing at this level. This is what they're doing at the middle level here, and then this is the what they're doing with the 3,500 odd people globally that's impacted for the end users. And so this is quite a useful distinction to look at it in this way, how you engage with various stakeholders in various ways. Then in terms of impact and readiness, they do impact analysis, and they, let me see if this will work for you. The impact analysis would have various elements here as to what belongs in the columns, the type of, for example, here, type of change impact, and what are the training requirements. So the impact on the one side, and from that, what could be training requirements. And then, like over here, 11 key activities for successful change, which they made notes. And the impact analysis of the description here is accurately understanding the impacts proposed changes would bring to various stakeholder groups was essential to establishing meaningful mitigations, such as design changes and training focuses. And then over here, they also measure the readiness, so they send out questionnaires to the various people where they rank the following, where 1 is strongly disagree and 5 is strongly agree. So the first one is EDS will bring value to Chevron, so the company is Chevron. I would like to see EDIS adopted by my business unit, so EDIS is the system name. The third over here, it's I would like to be more involved in designing the in the solution. I think the EDS system would have a positive impact on my job, or I would like to stay informed of EDIS project updates. So in this first question, EDIS will bring value to Chevron. This business unit rated it 4 out of 5, so they believe that it will bring value. And there are a couple of 3s over here where business units were middle of the road. And then over here, I would like to see EDIS adopted by my BU. So this MCBU unit did not really want to do that. Can you see there is a 2 there? In this, and that one is 4, and there's a 3 down here. And this was a floating window when they made the screenshot. And then, I would like to be more involved in designing the solution. They didn't even want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. And so on. So you can see how they rated that. And then at the bottom here, the OD team did a heat map of the scores. For example, 2.83 out of 5 average here, or the non-EMC companies or units. There needed to be something done here to shift that up to 4 or more. And then the 4 or more here is green, so that's okay, but we must still watch it. And then, the 3s are not absolutely dangerous, but it also can improve. And then you can see the heat map here in the middle here. This is what they were reflecting over here, where the units are. So it's important to measure that and then feed that back also to the full business, the CIO, the top people in the business. And then they mention here, as we will see in the top 5 lessons learned section, being able to quantify stakeholder support lends the project enormous credibility to decision makers and an ability to track progress. I apologize. I said this would be a short video. It's already 27 minutes. So hopefully you will still be with me. Okay, the top 5 lessons learned. And then you can read those. Let me read this one comment here. You can't be everywhere to deliver a passionate soliloquy on the case for change, nor should you be. Pilot your change with early adopters and find internal supporters who share your vision. And I'm sure you know the term early adopters, people that are keen, they're willing to take the risks, and those are really precious for you in a change environment where you work with them and also other internal supporters who can then filter down their enthusiasm to other people in the organization. And you're never going to be making everyone happy and on board, and that will be management decisions as to how to deal with people that don't want to adopt the new system. And then they mention here that one of the tools, create an interactive cross-functional advisory board, and there they decide, they give some guidelines as to what this advisory board must follow. And the purpose of this advisory council is to create a forum to provide the business units, the operating companies, department feedback for the voice of the customer and to provide input to the core team on key decisions. So the voice of the customer, meaning the 3,000 users, which are the customers of the system. And then the change network, you can have a look at this. It just shows the importance of having where is the core, that software team GRC. Let me make this there as well. The GRC, was that remember the name, governance, risk and compliance team. So there's a core team, and you can see how they liaise with the top level and then with the change agents in the business, which will be mixed OD and also business people, and the interfaces that run there. And then keep a visual record of your progress. And this is the OD team will keep this along with key people from the organization so that everyone is aware of where they come from, what have they achieved, and then they can track it. Okay, so, and then use success metrics to validate improvement. So you also measure assessment of levels of awareness of the project, and there's the 1 out of 5 rating again of the various the questions. So in this case, at the baseline it was June questionnaire. The total awareness was 3.91, and when they were in November at the pre-go live, and you know what go live means, it when your system is implemented, cold face, and people start using it. At that stage, what was it, to June, July, August, September, October, no, 4 or 5 months later, it edged up to 4.14 awareness out of 5. And a level of support at that June baseline was 3.65, and it edged up slightly to 3.78 pre-go live. So if I was in this situation, I would say that the awareness, that seems to be kind of okay, but the levels of support, if I was in this position, I would still be concerned that there needed to be more done to convince people to support this whole system, and then working with those stakeholders. And then it's group discussion, and then the contact details. So that's the presentation. I just want to come back to the working with stakeholders. So of course the OD development, OD team specialist has a role to play, particularly interacting with initially top management and so on. But they will also be key to designing methodologies for engaging with, firstly, to gather information from other stakeholders, and then to develop some form of a stakeholder management plan, which is not only the responsibility of the OD people, but also to business people that are running this project to make sure that they interact with their own fellow employees to build on that stakeholder support. So hopefully this has been useful, and hopefully this was useful. Thank you.